Miss Katie, if we are ready to get started, let's get
Absolutely. I want to thank everyone for your time this morning and joining the Florida Multifamily Power Hour, our second in this webinar series that we're hosting. We embarked on this webinar series so we can bring industry leaders of Florida together to discuss some of the pressing topics that we have here and now. We have always certainly been an open industry of networking and collaboration. However, I think now more than ever during these unprecedented times, we really need this collaboration even more. So this will be a very interactive webinar. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot of brainstorming together as a group. These ideas, we're going to compile them. We'll be sending them out to all the participants so we can certainly share these ideas and pass them along. I would like to take a moment to introduce a few people who have been an integral part of building out this webinar series. Heather Calderon and Angie Pusaderi Downing with Resman and Melissa Rowe with Pure Clean Emergency Restoration Services. Thank you for all that you have done to help get this webinar series started. And next, I would like to introduce my fabulous co-host for the day, Elizabeth Francisco, although I think everyone here knows her, but president and founder of Resman. Elizabeth is known for her high energy, her tenacity, and has spent the last 2 decades building a successful career and a technology provider for the multifamily industry. Ms. Francisco, who started her career as an on-site leasing agent, worked her way up to vice president of operations, while simultaneously launching Resman, a property management technology platform.
Thank you for that introduction. You know, I was thinking if we're co-hosts, I'm like, isn't there a morning talk show where they get to at least have Marys? Just saying. Isn't there a show? Like, I never get to watch it. I just hear rumors or see it like mocked on Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
I'm thinking next time we need to do that. I think we should give everyone permission. So we're very pleased to support the Florida Power Hour webinar series because we realize as an industry we rise and we rise together and we fall together. So why not work together, right? And Katie did such a wonderful introduction, but for those of you who may not know her, and I do believe there may be some new introductions on our webinar today, Katie is the Director of Training and Development for WRH Realty Services. She brings over 17 years of experience in property management, starting her career in leasing as well, and moving on to various operational roles, and ultimately following her passions through training in the training and marketing sphere. Her excitement for multifamily shines through in all that she does for the industry, which also includes currently serving as president of the Florida Apartment Association. I also want to take a minute to introduce 2 of my favorite rock stars that are on this call that do an incredible job making Katie and I look good. And I know that's no easy feat. Hannah Wood is our marketing manager at Resman, and David Fleck is the director of product marketing. And those of you that have been to some of our events in the past know them very well. They're amazing, and we're really, really pleased and thankful for all the work they've put into helping set this up and make sure technology works. And we just really appreciate you guys. Let's talk about what is keeping you guys up at night, right? So last time we talked about the top 3, navigating aged receivables. I'm missing my numbers now. What? Common area considerations. And the 2 that we needed to tackle next are adjusting your marketing strategy, which is really top of mind right now, not only as we look to finish the leasing season, but also as we start to begin on budgets, and the evolution of leasing, which really ties in together. The other topic was a write-in topic that we had, which was really thought-provoking, and then the individual brainstorming groups, when we talked about it separately, really echoed those concerns. So we elevated that into the content for today. Adjusting your marketing strategy. This was top of mind. With a greater dependence on generating website traffic, should we be rethinking our marketing strategy and spend? Katie, you have an extensive background in marketing. So I'm curious what considerations you'll be taking into account as you guys realign your marketing spend and strategies for the rest of the year in 2021.
So I think we really need to take into account the impacts of COVID on rental housing right now. Some are estimating that Florida should anticipate 850,000 evictions in the coming months. However, according to Harry Heiss, even during peak evictions in Florida, we only saw 160,000 back in 08, 9, 10 during the recession. So I don't really think that we will be seeing evictions to that extent. They are predicting, but we do have to be realistic. After all, things are very different right now. This is not like the last recession. We're in a very different time. And we certainly understand that there are cracks in today's market due to COVID. Adding to the strain on the market is the expiration of the $600 per week of unemployment, which has been a lifeline keeping some of our renters current. More than 100,000 first-time unemployment claims were filed in Florida last week as the economy continues to struggle and we continue to see higher and higher coronavirus numbers. Only Georgia and California were higher with these weekly figures. So early indicators suggest that unemployment benefits will be continued, but at probably a decreased amount. And while overall occupancy has certainly remained stable amid the COVID pandemic, rent collections are close to prior years as well. The sheer number of people unemployed in Florida will ultimately result in some type of increased delinquency as well as vacancy.
Yeah, those are, those definitely top of mind and causing a lot of concern. The increase in actual evictions to what you guys may have budgeted is one issue. But I think the number of renters that have elected to go month to month rather than signing renewal contracts, that might be even more pressing. And we're all very familiar with the valleys and peaks of multifamily. However, with the uncertainty of how long this pandemic is going to last and how we need to adjust our marketing strategies are top of mind for us all. Historically, when multifamily has faced with tough economic challenges stemming from things like increased vacancy and decreased effective rents, lower rent growth, we tend to decrease marketing spend in an effort to cut our way to profitability. And for those of you that have direct ties to marketing, I know that makes you cringe every time this topic comes up in the boardroom and in your executive meetings, because if you've been in marketing, that's maybe the wrong thing to do. So as the war for occupancy really heats up in the coming months, I will tell you, I don't think it's the time to cut your marketing spend. But I do think it's time to take a really hard look at the ROI of the investments you're making, right? So want to take a look here at the NAA operating expenses, right? And you can see that only 3% of the total spend goes to marketing. Now I want you to compare that to, you'll see the other companies here on the screen and what they allocate for marketing. While these companies are tech, and they're big tech at that, you may not see the correlation to multifamily, but consider this for just a second. These same companies are selling to the same consumers that we are, and they do most of their business online, like we now do. So I think there is something to take away from these companies and why they're so successful, and think about what can we learn from the way they do business. Lastly, I would say if you're looking at marketing spend as an expense line item rather than an investment in financial stability and future growth of your company, I think that indicates there may be a problem with the execution of your current strategy, and you may not have the transparency into the real ROI, or maybe you're investing in the wrong things for today's consumers, right? So I see that we have a poll starting. Wow. So it's a nice breakdown there, seeing how we're adjusting the spend. And you'll notice that we're still well below. And I would tell you, even outside other industries, other than the companies I put up there, you're typically seeing 11 to 12%. But you just don't see that inside of multifamily. And I can tell you, with our access to our database, that our installed base of users, they fall between that 3 and 6%. And I think occupancies have been high. We've been really reliant on just where the standards have been. So this is going to be really interesting to see how we approach things going forward. And that's what we're going to help you with today.
I agree 100%, Elizabeth. And as your organization kind of evaluates, their investment, you need to consider not only, what tools you're investing in to attract, convert, and retain those customers. You need to understand your ROI. And consumers have been navigating this online experience for some time now. And it really is redefining the expectations in all aspects of their personal lives, including everything from shopping online, dating online, and certainly, renting online as well. Today's marketing strategies call for more focus on the consumer experience and trends that go well beyond the use of ILS and basic website and face-to-face leasing. Truly, attracting renters takes a multifaceted approach to drive that traffic directly to your website. Really investing in the SEO and PPL and PPC. 93% of consumers only look at the first page of search results, something to keep in mind. And, apartment listings, with virtual tours get 87% more views. And, even looking at our reputation management, 25% of companies' market value is attributed to its online reputation. And when we talk about ILS spend, keep in mind, is the ILS is the apartments.coms of the world, the end all be all to generate our leads, just something to think about. And then there's certainly, the social aspect of our marketing as well. One of the things I want to mention as we're talking about these numbers is, keep in mind that these stats showing are pre-COVID. So, I think if you were to look at these numbers again and poll the audience, if you will, some more, now that we're kind of, I don't want to say post-COVID because I think we're still in it, but I can imagine what they would be now. I certainly think that, that reputation management piece would be a lot higher as well. So, kind of keep in mind with that when you're thinking about those stats.
Yeah, and those are great points, Katie. And the companies I referred to earlier, I can tell you they have dedicated spend to each one of those channels. And I know that's not necessarily the case here at multifamily because we like to multitask and, push the economies of scale to the extreme limits. But you also mentioned a second ago that about basic websites and how they just don't cut it anymore. Converting visitors of your website or social media is about converting them from the prospect to the leaseholder. And I don't think I'm telling anybody on this call anything new, but I thought there's some interesting points. According to Pat Klein, SVP and Chief Technology Officer of Essex Property Trust, he stated, rather dramatically, the real estate industry embraced the use of virtual touring options after resisting for so long due to the perception that face-to-face direct personal content was required to close the deal. This has proven to be an unfounded objection, and he does not see the industry returning to the days of only personal escorted tours. And I would even go so far as I think there's a lot of people who are overly dependent thinking that was their only competitive advantage and very resistant. So these are things to keep in mind as we move forward. And like I said, websites are no longer just a place to land. They're so much more. They're there to amplify your brand. They set expectations for your renters about what their living experience is going to be like, what dealing with the management is going to be like. They also need to be able to convert prospects to leaseholders on their own. And above all, they should separate you from the competition. So renters have expectations, right, that are being set by big tech. And sadly, as an industry, we're not delivering. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm going to challenge each one of you, and those of you in marketing will really love this, but go on your property sites or your management site and then go into any one of these or more and think about comparing the experience, the B2C experience. And as you do that, compare these things. How does the visual appeal for both the mobile and desktop compare? How easy is it for you as a consumer to navigate these sites? And, I think when it comes to property management, we are so used to seeing how our websites are set up. We know all the navigation, but there's also new renters coming out into the market, the Gen Zers, right, that have not leased before. So how does your website resonate with them versus this is just the way we've always done it, right? And do you provide the ability for prospects to self-serve, starting with the relevant property information, neighborhood information? They need to be able to get what they want, when they want it, how they want it, but they need to go all the way through to completing the transaction on their own. And then, as Katie mentioned, there's a lot of data that backs up the impact of reputation management. I think we were all talking about it before COVID, but now, since people are not comfortable coming out on site, or some offices have closed back down again because of the spikes in the corona numbers, then they're still looking for those answers. So what is your reputation saying about you? And have you considered Maybe even allowing and utilizing residents as champions of your communities. The evolution of leasing experience should include integrating all of your omni channels used to communicate with prospects that would then transition into scheduling a tour, conducting the ID verifications, facilitating self-showings, answering follow-up questions, and then closing the sale by presenting the customer with an online application and move-in process. And all of that needs to be in a consumer-grade package that still feels human-like. The goal, again, is not to eliminate humans from this process, guys, but it's instead to create efficiencies, instant gratification, and level up the roles of the on-site staff to focus on trust building and guided customer life cycle, and guide the customers through that resident life cycle to ultimately retain customers.
Yeah, oftentimes, retaining a renter is really more profitable than securing a new renter. But given the industry reports already reflecting flat to negative growth in 2021, retaining residents really just needs to be the top priority, and one that includes marketing. The amount of time spent on social media during a 12-month span of a lease term is 30 to 90 hours. And current renters are online. You have to be staying in front of them, and rest assured your competition will be as well. Don't just tweak what you have done before, but fundamentally you have to focus on the customer and the outcome that is desired before you can access the strategy and tools. Making sure that you have that consistent communication must be part of that strategy. So, Elizabeth and I just went over a lot of information. So I'd like to kind of for us to take a pause here, and Not breakout session, but start the kind of brainstorming, if you will, and kind of open up the floor to talk about, anything from a, retaining residents and adjusting that marketing spend standpoint, and kind of open up the floor. We can kind of start doing some brainstorming now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Katie, for the invitation. I am, ironically, very similar to Katie. I'm the Director of Training and Talent Development for Royal American Management, so we kind of have similar roles. A couple of things. Royal American Management did hire a social media manager. So that's a first ever position for us, and it is to handle reputation management for our company, and really kind of manage what content is being put out there, how we're communicating with our residents via social media, and having more of an emphasis on social media than we've ever had in the past. And one of the main reasons for that is something we've been kind of champion for years, and so we've allotted additional resources. We've actually increased our marketing budget, to kind of stay ahead of things. And one of the main reasons why is, and it's something that, I heard in one of the many calls that I took, is how are you going to be remembered for this crisis? How are you going to be remembered for this crisis as a management company? How did you navigate through it? What resources that, did you make available to your residents? How well were they taken care of? Did they feel, supported? Did they feel like, we provided them the resources that they need and the information they needed? Were we in regular contact? How will we be remembered? So a lot of that all lends to, if we handle this crisis well, then that's going to turn into positive reviews, which will turn into good word of mouth.
Hey, Lauren Crone. Great to see all you pretty ladies on the and some of the men that I don't have on the screen, but I know they're there. David. We just rolled out on a portfolio test on the chatbot rather, and it almost immediately saw great success. So I think what it does is it provides an instant, you said earlier, they want instant gratification. And so, we found that the chatbot and the ability of the automated responses that you can set up with those at least gives some initial automation or initial response time, but then it also then develops into, like Lori said, your teams, as they get more comfortable, they then improve and expand on that dialogue. So we've seen good success, and I think in a very short amount of time, trying to get the rest of the properties and portfolios on board. Our struggle, to be honest with you, in the beginning when you were talking about the marketing spend, it's still trying to get the clients to accept to spend the money. We're third-party management, so I can't do a broad stroke approval across all the properties. So they're not in a time when we're trying to really watch the expenses, even though that's the last place they should be cutting, it's also every dime and nickel that they're spending, they're watching. So we're trying to develop and if anybody's got stats, but we're trying to develop the historical stats that support the reason to move to that, as well as improved reputation management, social media. Lori, I applaud you on being able to hire someone to focus on that. And we kind of rely on some third party groups that are out there to help us with social media reputation. Again, some clients buy into it, some don't. So that's probably our biggest challenge.
Trust me, it was a tough ask. We've been trying to get this position for 3 years, to be honest. Yeah. This is something we've, but finally, we're there. So.
Well, and one of the things.
Hang on to it.
One of the things I want to guide us to is what Lori just said, because we want to stay on track in time. But I really think this is an important conversation about the investors and the marketing spend and the justification, because, I think number one is, was there anything that drastically changed as far as what you're spending right now versus what you were, say, at the first of the year? And then, what are you doing to help overcome this with your investors? And maybe the third question would be, what cuts? Because I could see an environment where if I'm an investor, I think naturally, especially if I'm not, depending on what kind of business, if I'm a passive investor, what industry I'm actually in my day job, how are they looking at, well, if I'm going to do this, well, where are you going to cut? So does all of this technology allow us to get away with less people on site? I would imagine if you're not hearing that, you will be, because they may not understand the intricacies. So, and I think, I know that Allied Orion Group has several investor groups as well. So, I'd love to hear from you guys, maybe talking about those three things, how you're approaching that.
Yeah, I would say it's very difficult having conversations with the client and really trying to encourage them to spend additional dollars in marketing. One thing that we have noticed, we're doing financial review calls this week, and a lot of our communities have a huge saving in marketing. And it's like, guys, we've got this $8,000 per month in savings in marketing. We need to be spending that. You're suffering with marketing. You're suffering with occupancy right now. You're in the upper 80s. So let's put that money to some good use. We have also found that, a lot of our a lot of our clients, they are, big on, SEO or PPC, which has been great. A lot of our clients have been very eager with us increasing our spend, which has been nice. We're also updating right now. I know we just put in an order for at least 8 websites now's the time to refresh. And so, making those updates and changes while things are a little bit slower. And then I think the biggest thing one of the biggest hurdles that we have right now is, everybody's in the same situation. And in March, we all started talking about virtual leasing, self-guided tours. And I remember being at NMHC annual meeting and having conversations with a self-guided tour company, thinking to myself, I don't want to do self-guided tours. That's going to take a leasing professional out of their job at some point in time. And then here we are, self-guided tours. And so, really looking for that best company to work with that has a flawless integration and works correctly with all the bells and whistles, but with no issues or problems, and then really being able to sell that to our clients and making sure that teams feel comfortable with it as well. So we have a lot of things that we're looking at. Unfortunately, I feel like, and Sarah can agree with me, and we're probably all in the same situation. We don't have enough people on our team to really kind of go through all of these, scenarios and situations to kind of put some of this stuff into play. Not enough time in the day.
Yes. But no. I think we're seeing companies too, some of the larger companies are already doing some middle management and back office downsizing.
Yeah.
which just
Yep.
adds to the problem. For sure. Sarah, I'm sorry, you were going to say something, or at least it looked like you were going to.
Oh no, I think it just is picking up on me, but I mean, absolutely what Amanda said, that's kind of, our biggest challenges right now. And as far as like the self-guided tours, it's in, just really finding those technology partners that really are working seamlessly, because that seems to be the biggest challenge, because everybody now all of a sudden it's right in front of our face. And so everybody wants this piece, so they're cramming that technology to be ready instantly, but unfortunately it's not working seamlessly from point A to point B. And having that beautiful Amazon workflow feel like you're talking about, that's just missing right now. It's kind of piecemealed, and really trying to make all those pieces work for the site team and for ultimately the prospect client has been the biggest challenge. The same thing with the chatbots, making sure that those are not just so in your face like a used car sales piece as well. Like they're a really great added on piece to keep them onto your page a lot longer for the website. But what we found is that they also can be way too obtrusive. You have to watch them and tone them down to where it doesn't cause people just to want to get off your site because it's too much in your face.
Well, we're a thorough group today. Awesome. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to kick this back over to Katie and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you everyone so much for joining the call today. Really appreciate your time. I feel like we had a lot of really fun, cool, and exciting ideas that came out of here. As mentioned, we will be rolling all of this up. We will be sharing the video of the call today. We will be rolling it all up and having a list of ideas that came out of it. And we'll be sharing that with everyone. So I think it's going to go on the Resman blog, but you'll get a link for that. We will be also providing a link from June's Power Hour. So if you want to go back and look at that and see some of the topics and some of the results that came out of that, that will be sent out to you as well. But you will be getting a link for today's event to everybody. So thank you again so much. I know your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you being on the call and sharing your ideas today. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thanks so much.
Oh,
Hi, guys.
we'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.